Pachamama is a 2018 animated film about a young boy living in an Andes village in the time when the conquistadors are arriving in South America and legends of these metal men are spreading across the land. It's a very special film, and I know we say that a lot, but Pachamama truly is. The animation is simple, but just so alive, so unique and inspired by the culture it's drawing this story from. The film starts with Tepulpai on his path toward becoming a village shaman, or what he believes that path to be, as he retrieves a feather from the great condor on the eve of his people's coming-of-age ceremony, where he and his friend, the girl Naira, both on the verge of adulthood, must demonstrate maturity by giving up their most prized possession to Pachamama, the earth goddess that they honor. Naira sacrifices her llama, and for her willingness to do so, the animal is spared. But Tepulpai, instead of his prized feather, produces a handful of wilted flowers, and he's denied progression to becoming a great one, or a grown-up, because he just can't imagine at this point releasing something that shows off how special he is among his peers. The shaman schools him on the selflessness and generosity, the humility and thankfulness needed in becoming an adult and taking on responsibility for his community. But Tepulpai just isn't there yet. Enter now the taxman, and I forget what they call him in the film, but essentially it's an emissary from the Inca, the empire, whom all these more ancient peoples of the Andes have come to live under. And this emissary demands their annual tribute of their crops. He becomes enraged to discover Tepulpai's people have sacrificed half their annual harvest to the goddess Pachamama, as is their custom to thank her for her abundance and their ability to live off the land. The next greater portion they set aside for the Inca, and the last modest portion they set aside for themselves. But the Inca take all the villagers' food to urge them to give up their heritage. Now, as if this isn't bad enough, their most prized relic, a golden huaca, a totem of Pachamama kept hidden away in a cave except for ceremonial days like today, is also taken by the Inca as a gift for the emperor. And this sends their entire village into despair, because without the huaca, their deepest, most solemn beliefs and rituals are upended. In essence, their identity is taken away. Now, despite his recent failure, but being a 10-year-old and believing himself destined for great things, Tepulpai decides to track down the Incan ambassadors and just steal it back. Tepulpai's motivated, however, once again, by his immaturity. Delusions of grandeur, if you will. But he slowly becomes grounded by the hardship of the journey and the company of Naira and her llama. They reach the city, but it's too late, and the huaca is given to the vapid emperor, who basically tosses it onto his pile of gold and trinkets. The emperor eventually agrees to return the huaca, except, did I mention the piles of gold they have sitting around? Enter the conquistadors, who've picked this very moment to invade and sack the entire civilization for its treasures, defiling religious artifacts and edifices of state altogether, and allowing Tepulpai and Naira an opportunity to escape, although they're pursued for the huaca all the way back to their village. Now things get a bit fantastical. The shaman reveals himself to actually have the powers of the great condor, and he helps Tepulpai to safeguard the huaca, if only temporarily. It's eventually destroyed. The gold turns to dross, and while the conquistadors are driven back, Tepulpai's village is left ruined and destitute. What happens next? The people of Tepulpai's village, with nothing left, start to sing in praise of Pachamama. Despite the village elders either passing away or being too injured to lead, the people sing. Tepulpai takes his place as a shaman, having learned selflessness and responsibility, and to think twice before taking action. And the ruined golden huaca splits apart, and within this golden relic are the original seeds their crops were first planted from, placed there by the ancestors long ago. And now, with those seeds, they can rebuild their village and their community and their lineage. Pachamama, the earth itself, because they've chosen to live in synergy with her, has provided after all. I always hesitate to liken very singular films like this to ones that we may be more acquainted with. So when I say it has the feeling you'll remember from watching The Grinch, or has some themes maybe that are explored in The Lion King or something. I should be quick to point out that that's just a touchstone for us as parents about the inherent value we might get from sitting down with our kids and watching this film. It's not a lecture film. It's not a message film. It's a fun film like those. It's action-packed. It's entertaining, but it also is very unique. Pachamama captures a moment in our kids growing up that is universal and universally difficult, whether for our children today or for this young boy living in a 16th century village. And that's the moment when a child struggles to look beyond their own selfish wants and needs and instead see themselves as part of something bigger, whether a culture, a community, or a family, and they begin developing more empathy for those around them. And with that comes some courage for doing the right thing, because it's not always natural for children to think selflessly. It's a type of second nature that only comes into its own as we grow into our own skin a bit and take stock of the world and people around us. And that is Tepulpai's journey here. And it's drawn, guys, so honestly, but also in such an entertaining way. It's really a win-win for you and for your kids if you sit them down to watch it. And if that's not enough to get you to watch it, consider it a more thoughtful, in-depth conversation with kids about ancient cultures and traditions. Instead of them just getting brain candy about old Incan or Aztec cultures like this, they can get some of the more beautiful, peaceful, factual traditions like this.
Beloved ancestors.
Plus, this movie has a healthy fear of snakes. Add this movie to your watch list for your next family movie night. And if you're an educator, maybe pencil it into your lesson plan around Earth Day or Indigenous Peoples Day or wherever you can. There's also a lot here to unpack as a coming-of-age story for young people, so it really deserves a spot in every family's viewing schedule as far as I'm concerned. Pachamama, a good little film for almost all ages. It's rated PG, parental guidance, mostly for moments of peril, but it's also mostly tame. Check it out for your family, maybe give it a preview, and if you do, let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. From Daddy Daughter Movie Night, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon. The filmmakers took 14 years from initial concept to completion of this film, with some false starts along the way, because it was a passion project. And if you're interested in the journey of these filmmakers who studied these Incan cultures long before deciding to make a film, I'll link an article down below describing that journey as well.